The new world, the bishop, great letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. You know what I'm saying? Took my braids out, you feel me? Hair wilding. But you know, I got the ensemble thing going on, so I'm smart enough to still let y'all know what's happening, right? So 1,800 deaths globally due to the coronavirus, 71,000 infections. The 1,800 deaths, though, only 5 of them were outside of mainland China so far. We've had our first fatality in Europe, where you had a Chinese man that was actually visiting France and actually died from the coronavirus while in France. 300 people were returned to the U.S. from the Diamond Princess cruise ship that was actually off the coast of Yokohama, Japan. The Yokohama port, where 3,600 people were actually quarantined on that boat. 450 were found to have been affected, with the 300 Americans that were returned, and they're actually in Texas and California. 14 of them were said to have been infected with the virus, but all of them are being quarantined and kept on these U.S. bases for 2 weeks. And Chinese state media revealed that Xi Jinping, the president of China, actually knew about the coronavirus and the seriousness of it weeks before the outbreak got serious. Green Wall graduate. Well, though the bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So over 1,100 former Justice Department officials have actually signed on to this open letter that was released Sunday, calling for the resignation of the current Attorney General William Barr after he intervened to basically get sentence reduction outside of the recommended, federal regulated recommended sentencing for Roger Stone, Trump's longtime friend and former political advisor. This is somebody that was found guilty of witness tampering and lying to Congress. Initially facing 50 years, but had recently been facing like 7 to 9 years. But after Trump had put out this tweet, saying that this was like a miscarriage of justice, William Barr had intervened and tried to get the sentence reduced. And then that caused 4 federal prosecutors to withdraw themselves from the case in protest. One of them actually just resigned from his job completely. So we'll see what happens. I mean, even 9 Democratic officials on Friday, including Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, had actually signed an open letter calling for him to resign as well. Green Wall graduate. The new world, though, the bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. Yeah, I know hair whooping, you feel me? I'm gonna get it rebraided, but it's out right now, closed out on my Cornell West, Einstein genius shit right now, so respect it. But in the northern Al-Jaf province in Yemen, there was actually so how it went, the Houthis had Houthi rebels, and they're the ones that have been constantly combating the U.S.-backed Saudi forces, as well as the United Arab Emirates forces that have been, infiltrating and causing destruction in Yemen. They had shot down a Saudi fighter jet. Hours later, 31 people were actually ended up being killed in a U.S.-backed Saudi airstrike. Now, in other news, though, there was a major prison swap between the Houthi rebels and the U.S.-backed Saudi and UAE coalition, the first of its kind since the ongoing war has been going on since 2015, where 100,000 people have actually been murdered and way more have been displaced. Green Wall graduate. The world of the bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So over in Syria, the fighting has actually continued to go on between Syria, the Syrian government, Turkish forces, Russian forces, and the actual rebels that have actually been holding on to these provinces, most notably the Idlib province. But the Syrian government has actually said that they took control of most of the Aleppo province from that was also rebel held apparently. But since December, this has been going on. Well, since December particularly, because this has been going on for years, especially in the Idlib province. But since December, 800,000 people have actually been displaced, meaning forced to move towards whether it's north. Many of them have been going towards the Turkish border, going north. With you're talking about people literally trying to dodge airstrikes, so they're on foot, walking for miles or forever in the cold, so they can get their hands on some sort of transportation, and then sweeping in fence. So it's real rugged out there. Apparently, Turkey and Turkey and Russia, they're supposed to hold talks in Moscow today. We'll see what this turns out to be. Green War and graduation. For the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. So, 8 civilians were actually killed in an airstrike in Afghanistan in the eastern province of Nangarhar this past weekend. You're talking about, and one of them was actually a child. So, shit is still rugged, but this comes as like Trump has actually, it seems like there's a peace deal that will be reached. Now there was a truce set between the United States and the Taliban that is said to last for 7 days. Trump is saying it's a good chance that they'll reach a deal with the Taliban that'll allow the U.S. troops, the U.S. military, to reduce its presence in upcoming future, in the near future. And at the Munich Security Conference, Afghan President Ashraf Ghani actually said there's a peace deal that is likely to be reached within the next week, the next few days. So we'll see if this really comes into fruition, because we know last year, the end of last year, it was it almost did, and then all of a sudden it did. So we'll see what happens, because bloodshed could change anything. Green War and graduation. For the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. So over the weekend, the Trump administration began deploying these specially trained tactical customs and border protection units all throughout the country, throughout these sanctuary cities, cities that are refusing to comply with the administration's immigration customs, and not using the police departments to send information to immigration and customs enforcement in order to get people basically deported from the country. They're refusing to comply with that. So now the Trump administration, and they have the right to, but Trump administration is actually taking the matters into their own hands and now deploying these CBP SWAT teams, if you will. CBP being Customs and Border Protection. SWAT, everybody know what the letter is about. Putting those units in these sanctuary cities to basically detain suspected undocumented migrants. We're talking about New York, Detroit, Chicago, New Orleans, these type of cities, the main sanctuary cities. And this is actually going to be going on throughout May. Now, the Washington Post has also reported that there's these mandatory therapy sessions that migrants are supposed to have when they're detained, and that the Customs and Border Protection and ICE, they've actually been taking these notes that are supposed to be confidential, and they're actually able to use them in court against these children. So just spread the word on that front. Green War and graduation. We'll go to Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. So I told y'all last week about how the Senate actually passed a resolution limiting Trump's powers to actually initiating an attack against Iran without congressional approval. This is in response to, remember what happened the first day of last month, or the first week of last month, where Qasem Soleimani, the Iranian general, was actually assassinated via a U.S. drone at Baghdad International Airport in Iraq. So after this resolution was passed, there was a memo released from the White House that simply it said to it doesn't mention anything about an imminent threat, which is what Trump said was the reason for killing Soleimani, because he was an imminent threat. He was about to kill some Americans or whatever. And as the House Foreign Affairs Chair Elliot Engel had actually said that the justification that Trump provided was just false, plain and simple. So he just, it's just another lie on Trump's record towards the American people. Green War and graduation. For the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. So, man, there's some power plays being made by some of these lawyers, but this one caught up to this particular guy, Michael Avenatti. You might recognize that name because he was the lawyer for Stormy Daniels in her hush money case against Donald Trump, right? Trump paid her X amount of money to basically keep her mouth shut about their affair while he was becoming president and all of that, or campaigning to be president. Nevertheless, Avenatti in New York was actually found guilty of wire fraud and for trying to extort Nike for up to $25 million. He basically threatened one of the biggest companies in the world threatened them to with revealing improper payments they were making to student athletes. unless they either pay him that money or like retain his services. So he's facing up to 42 years in prison, maximum sentence. Though obviously he's not gonna get the max, but that's still kind of scary, right? He's also facing a case out in L.A. For defrauding his clients, and he's even has a case in New York for taking money from Stormy Daniels that she was supposed to get from a book publisher. So it looks like he's going down today, boy. Greenwald graduation. The New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So, Health Secretary Alex Azar, of the Trump administration, put in there about Trump and all of that, actually basically approved of an Arkansas requirement that they had placed on Medicaid, basically saying that you had to work in order to receive the health benefits. Well, a federal appeals court basically shut that down, saying Azar's support of that was arbitrary and capricious. So basically, you don't have to. There's no work requirement for Medicaid. Like, it almost defeats the whole fucking purpose. Greenwald graduation. The New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So remember last spring, in April specifically, there was a lot of drama around the U.S. Basically acknowledging Juan Guaido as being the president of Venezuela, even though Nicolas Maduro is the current president. It's seen as like a soft coup. It seemed like the U.S. was trying to help Guaido come into power, and take Maduro out of power, which, technically you have no authority to do, right? And in doing so, they were actually granting Guaido access to the Venezuelan embassy in Washington, D.C. Well, in response to that last April, there were actually multiple activists that were actually blocking into the Venezuelan embassy, and 4 activists were arrested, including Dr. Margaret Flowers. They were actually facing trial, and that trial ended in a hung jury on Friday. So they're happy with the result. They still remain innocent, even though it's not an acquittal. We'll see how this turns out. Greenwald graduate.